Oh boy, I am not looking forward to my comment section on this video. Almost a year ago, I made a video on the top 5 hand cannons in Destiny 2, and since that video, a lot has changed, including the sunsetting of 4 out of the 5 hand cannons in that video. So today, I'm going to be updating that video with the top 5 hand cannons, in my opinion. I know I'm not supposed to give my opinion on the internet, but I'm going to anyway. And their god rolls in the game currently. But real quick, if you're new and if you enjoy my content, then feel free to subscribe. Also, twitch.tv/myfi with an underscore at the end is where I stream me helping people, do raids such as Deepstone Crypt, Garden of Salvation, and Last Wish. So if you want help or just a place to hang out, then come on over. All right, with plugs done, let's get into these hand cannons. So as a prerequisite, this top 5 does not contain exotics, but I will talk about what I believe to be the best exotic hand cannons toward the end of the video. Coming in at number 5, we have Nation of Beast. Nation of Beast is a 140 RPM arcane cannon that is acquired from the Last Wish raid. Getting into the God Roll, well, surprise, it's the curated roll. Now, just a quick reminder for people that might have forgotten or are just confused on what I mean when I say curated roll. Curated rolls were, and I say were because they don't exist anymore, were rolls specifically made by Bungie, and when they dropped, they were already fully masterworked. The curated roll is full bore in column 1 for an increase to range but a decrease to handling and stability, light mag in column 2 for an increase to range and reload speed, outlaw in column 3 for fast reloads after a precision kill, and finally dragonfly in column 4 for the added ability to make enemies explode on precision kills, damaging/killing other nearby enemies. Nation of Beast was originally going to be number 2 on this list until some further investigation, which landed it here at number 5. Even though it is in last place on this list, that does not mean it's bad. In fact, this weapon is far from bad, especially the curated roll. The curated roll is almost a carbon copy of Fatebringer from Destiny 1. Its arc, fast reloads on precision kills, makes enemies go kaboom on precision kills, and most importantly, it's a sexy hand cannon. Like I just said, a carbon copy of Fatebringer. Outlaw and Dragonfly synergize so well together that it really turns Nation of Beast into an ad clearing machine. Now, random rolls of this weapon can drop, but since you can't get Dragonfly on this weapon unless you get the curated roll, well, I just don't think it's worth using, especially with other hand cannons that I'm about to mention. So either you get the curated roll or you don't use the weapon at all. Now, making its way in at number 4, we have the Ikelos HC. The Ikelos HC is a 180 RPM void hand cannon that is acquired via random world drops or vendors. Let's get into the God Roll. In column 1, we have 9 barrel options. I don't want to sit here and bore you with all of them, so let me just tell you which ones to go for. Controller players should look for small bore for an increase to range and stability, where mouse and keyboard players should look for full bore for that massive increase to range but a penalty to handling and stability. Now for column 2, where we find one of my favorite column 2 perks of all time, Seraph rounds. This is what you want, hands down, no questions asked. It's like high cal ricochet rounds and armor piercing rounds had a baby. Seriously, it's great, and it's the only column 2 perk you should even go for. Now for column 3, where we find 5 perks: Subsistence, Triple Tap, Sideways, Threat Detector, and Genesis. Now I'm gonna go ahead and toss out the perks I wouldn't recommend. Those perks being Genesis and Triple Tap. That leaves us with Subsistence, which will partially reload the mag from reserves on kill, Sideways, which partially reloads the mag and temporarily boosts handling and stability when sighting, and then Threat Detector for an increase to reload speed, stability, and handling when enemies are in close proximity. Now all 3 of these perks are in some way reload perks. Sadly, we don't find perks like Outlaw or Rapid It on this weapon, but we can make do with the perks we have. I'm going to go ahead and say Subsistence is the best here, thanks to its ability to just keep on throwing ammo back into your mag as long as you're getting kills. Most of you know I don't recommend Subsistence on weapons like SMGs, but when it comes to hand cannons, where you're not just pumping out 600 plus rounds per minute, well, it's actually very good. Sideways and Threat Detector are good runner-ups, don't get me wrong. And if you get either of these 2 perks and you prefer them over Subsistence, because I know sometimes Subsistence is super controversial, some people like it, some people hate it. Hey, I think Subsistence is the best in this column for this weapon. But if you can't stand Subsistence and you want to go with either Sideways or Threat Detector, well, you're not going to be disappointed, to say the least, as they will still perform phenomenal on this weapon. Subsistence is still the best in my opinion though. And then finally, column 4, where we find 5 perks: Disruption Break, Vorpal Weapon, Rampage, Eye of the Storm, and High Impact Reserves. Now the perks I don't recommend. All of them except Rampage. Seriously, Rampage is your go-to. The only exception is if you're running something like a Grandmaster Nightfall and need a void damage hand cannon to break shields and to also have something like, I don't know, anti-barrier. And then once those shields are broken, you can follow up with an Izzy shot. At that point, yeah, Disruption Break will be good for that increase to kinetic damage. But besides that, Rampage is your go-to. The God Roll is column 1 full bore for M&K or small bore for controller, column 2 Seraph rounds, column 3 subsistence, and column 4 Rampage. Now by itself, with nothing else, this hand cannon is good, okay? It's decent. You know, not bad, but where it really starts to excel is when you start focusing your build around it. Yes, you already know what I'm talking about, Warmind cells. This weapon is an Ikelos weapon, which means when you throw on a mod like Global Reach, this weapon will produce a Warmind cell every 5 kills. I've said this before and I'll say it again. A primary weapon's main job is to ad clear, and one of the best ad clearing methods in the game is using Warmind cells. Warmind cells can clear entire rooms in seconds, and they are they're just amazing. So when you combine a fast firing hand cannon that can one tap most low tier ads with the ability to spawn something that can kill every ad within what feels like sometimes a 10-mile radius, well, you have a very potent combination on your hands. It was between the Ikelos HC and the 7th Seraph Revolver because both can create Warmind cells. The Ikelos HC just has better overall base stats and better overall perks that it can roll with. Now, only if we had a hand cannon that had even better perks and could still spawn Warmind cells even if it's at a reduced rate. I wonder. Yeah, that's just me foreshadowing a later weapon on this list. Now coming in at number 3, we have Dire Promise. Dire Promise is a 140 RPM kinetic hand cannon that is acquired via random world drops or vendors. Getting into the God Roll. For column 1, if you're on controller, then you should look for Steady Hand HCS for an increase to stability, handling, and aim assist. But if you're on M&K, then Sure Shot HCS all day for the massive increase to range and aim assistance, but a penalty to stability and handling. For column 2, well, we don't need any magazine perks, you'll learn why in just a second, so our only options are high caliber rounds, ricochet rounds, and armor piercing rounds. Your best bet to get the most bang for your buck is going to be ricochet rounds for an increase to both range and stability. Now for column 3, where we find 5 perks: Overflow, Triple Tap, Auto Loading Holster, Opening Shot, and Snapshot Sights. I'm going to go ahead and be blunt here. Overflow is the best. You have this perk, and whenever you pick up special or heavy ammo, it's going to load 20 plus shots straight into your mag. None of the other column 3 perks are offering something of this caliber, no pun intended. And now finally column 4, where we find once again 5 perks: Swashbuckler, Elemental Capacitor, Osmosis, Rangefinder, and Under Pressure. Now I really hate to do this because I don't want you all to think I'm lazy and I just don't want to talk about the other perks, but there's really only one option: Swashbuckler. Why, you might ask? Well, it's the only damage perk, and for PvE, that's all that really matters, unless it has Dragonfly, but this doesn't. So the damage perk it is. So the PvE God Roll is column 1, Steady Hand HCS for controller players or Sure Shot for M&K players. Column 2, Ricochet rounds for an increase to range and stability. Column 3, Overflow for bullets on bullets. Then finally column 4, Swashbuckler for a 33% damage increase after 5 weapon kills or 1 melee kill. Now I want to stop right here and real quickly explain why this weapon is on the list. I believe Dire Promise is the best PvE kinetic hand cannon in the game based on stats, perks, and when it's getting sunset. Some could argue that the 7th Seraph Revolver is the best kinetic hand cannon for PvE because of its ability to create Warmind cells, and my answer to that would be look back at what I said earlier about it being outclassed in every way by the Ikelos HC. I also wanted to quickly mention the PvP God Roll, as that's where this weapon really rose in popularity last season. The God Roll for PvP is column 1, well, it's the same perks as the PvE God Roll, so just rewind and see what those were. Column 2, high caliber rounds for an increase to range and the added flinch it causes to targets you're firing at. Column 3, Opening Shot for an increase to range and accuracy on the opening shot of an attack. And column 4, Rangefinder for overall better range. Remember, more range equals better accuracy. I'm definitely not out here dying to get on Destiny 2 and use Dire Promise in PvE, but if I need a kinetic hand cannon, this is 100% my go-to simply because of its amazing stats, perk pool, and overall feel. Definitely worth adding this to your collection if you don't already have one. Now coming in at number 2, we have Ancient Gospel. Ancient Gospel is a 140 RPM solar hand cannon that is acquired via the Garden of Salvation raid. Getting right into the God Roll. For column 1, we find a pretty standard assortment of barrel perks that we're used to seeing on hand cannons. For controller, surprise, surprise, small bore is going to be your go-to. Then for M&K, surprise, surprise, full bore is going to be your go-to. Now for column 2, where we have a few options. If you want more bullets in your mag, but you don't want a crazy slow reload speed, then go with tactical mag for that bump to mag size, stability, and reload speed. But if you're all about range, then accurized rounds is the perk for you. Then to column 3, where we have 4 perks: Rapid Hit, Slide Shot, Outlaw, and Eye of the Storm. Honestly, this is a pretty stacked column, except for Eye of the Storm. Just pretend that perk's not even there. The best perk for this column is going to be Rapid Hit for the increase to reload speed and stability after landing precision shots. The next best is Outlaw for an increase to reload speed after a precision kill, which so some could argue is better for this weapon because of a perk that I'll mention in column 4. Then we have Slide Shot, which is, you know, it's good, but it's more of a, yeah, I'm still grinding trying to get an outlaw or rapid hit roll perk for this weapon. And finally, column 4, where we have 4 baller perks. Literally none of them are bad, but some are better than the others for PvE ad clearing. The perks are Kill Clip, Swashbuckler, Dragonfly, and Rangefinder. The perk you should absolutely not go for is Rangefinder. It's not a bad perk by itself, but the other perks in this column are just so much better. Now that we have that perk out of the way, let's talk about the other 3 perks. Swashbuckler is up first because I feel like unless you're all about melee builds and you need Swashbuckler, then it's just outclassed by Kill Clip. I mean, Kill Clip is the same damage increase at 33%, but it only requires 1 kill, then a reload, whereas Swash requires 5 kills or 1 melee to fully activate. Next up is Kill Clip, which is definitely good and much better than Swashbuckler, but at the same time, you're going to be using your hand cannon for ad clear, and Ancient Gospel is going to one-tap most low tier ads whether you have Kill Clip active or not. So now all that's left is Dragonfly, which is the best column 4 perk for this hand cannon. Like I said earlier, our primary weapon's main objective in PvE is to ad clear, and when you give that weapon the ability to clear multiple ads in one shot, well, it's a deadly combo. So the God Roll is column 1 full bore if you're on M&K, or small bore if you're on controller. Column 2, accurized rounds if you want range, or tactical mag if you want a mag size bump with extra benefits. Column 3, rapid hit for that speedy reload and better stability. And column 4, dragonfly to put your ad clearing potential through the roof. Now, of course, you could swap rapid hit for outlaw and pair that with dragonfly to get a fate bringer like Phil. Some of you may be wondering, why is this weapon, if the perks are so similar, so much higher on the list compared to Nation of Beasts? That's because of one thing. Ancient Gospel is solar, which means it can create Warmind cells. That's right. With the mod Wrath of Rasputin, any solar splash damage final blows have a chance to generate Warmind cells, and because this weapon is solar, that means whenever you get a precision kill and Dragonfly activates, any enemies killed in that solar explosion have a chance to generate a Warmind cell. Now, another question some of you might be asking is, what about the Ikelos HC? You can make Warmind cells more consistently, and you pretty much know when they'll spawn, and yeah, that's true. But Ancient Gospel has Dragonfly, meaning sometimes you might spawn a Warmind cell when everything is already dead because of it. Dragonfly on a weapon that can produce Warmind cells is like a 2-for-1 nuclear explosion special. I would rather take a primary that produces Warmind cells less frequently that has Dragonfly than a primary that produces them every 5 kills that doesn't have Dragonfly. Plus, not to mention Ancient Gospel stat-wise is just overall better than the Ikelos HC, which is another reason why it's higher on the list. Now, before we get into number 1, I wanted to quickly discuss my personal pick for the best exotic hand cannon. If I would have made this video a month ago, then it would have been a no-brainer, but ever since the release of Hawkmoon, well, I'm honestly stuck deciding between that and Ace of Spades. I mean, Ace can cause explosions on command for amazing ad clear, but at the same time, it can't really deal any big damage, and it's taking up your exotic slot. Then we have Hawkmoon that can't make enemies explode for ad clear, unless of course you watch my build I made with it a few days ago, but it can deal big damage with Paracosmal Shot fully charged. It's honestly a tough choice, so I'm gonna let you all decide for me. Which one do you all think is better? Let me know in the comment section between Ace and Hawkmoon, and some of you all might also argue Sunshot, so if you wanna argue that, then put it down there as well. Now, coming in at number 1, we have Posterity. Posterity is a 180 RPM arc hand cannon that is acquired from the new Deepstone Crypt raid. I recently made an entire video dedicated to why this hand cannon is the new best hand cannon in the game for PvE, so I'll keep this short because I don't want to just repeat myself. If you want more info, that video will be linked at the top of the description. The God Roll is column 1 full bore for M&K or small bore for controller, surprise, surprise. Column 2 accurized rounds, column 3 rapid hit, and finally column 4 one for all. You don't need a reload speed increasing perk in column 2 thanks to rapid hit. Reconstruction, because I know some of you will ask, is a good second choice for column 3, but it requires you to stop shooting to activate. If it didn't require you to stop shooting, then yeah, it'd be the best, but because this is a 180 and landing precision shots rapidly is so easy while slowing down to wait for reconstruction, is just a no-go in my book. Not to mention how well rapid hit pairs with one for all. One for all is your go-to for column 4 because of its 35% damage increase that lasts for 10 seconds, and you don't even need to get a kill to activate it. All you need to do is hit 3 enemies within a short period of time, and like I just said, this is a 180, meaning throwing out shots rapidly is a breeze. With this God Roll, you technically don't need to kill anything to fully activate its column 3 and 4 perks. Like I said, if you want a more in-depth reason as to why Posterity is the new best hand cannon in the game, then check out the video linked below. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this list was a tough one to make, simply because there are only 12 legendary hand cannons in the game currently that have not been sunset, and out of those 12 legendary hand cannons, 3 of them are not obtainable. Krimmel's Dagger, the Steady Hand, and True Prophecy. Krimmel's Dagger was replaced by the Steady Hand for Iron Banner, so you can't get it unless Iron Banner is here, and True Prophecy was just straight up removed from the loot pool. And those 3 hand cannons are the only legendary 120 hand cannons in the game. So right now, you literally can't obtain a legendary 120 hand cannon. And I am for sunsetting if it's done correctly. But just making this list has just made me realize that Bungie did not do a good job with sunsetting. They removed so much from the game. Like, I'm sitting here looking at the collection screen on the hand cannon section, and there's just like multiple pages of just nothing but sunset weapons. And then you get to the end and there's just a handful. There's just a handful of legendary hand cannons that aren't sunset. Like I said, I'm for sunsetting if it's done correctly. This was not done correctly because instead of removing a bunch of old stuff and adding a bunch of new stuff for us to use, they just removed a bunch of old stuff and kept some of the newer stuff, not new stuff, just newer stuff, and then added like 1 or 2 new hand cannons. And it's ridiculous. Hopefully it gets better as we progress more into Beyond Light. But yeah, I thought I would explain and give my 2 cents on why this video was a little tough for me to make. And there we go. Those are the current top 5 hand cannons for PvE and their God rolls. Like I mentioned, this list was on the tough side to make because of the lack of available hand cannons in the game currently. Like, come on, Bungie, don't sunset 90% of the hand cannons, then only add 2 new ones. Also, don't forget to decide between Hawkmoon or Ace of Spades for me in the comment section before you head out. If you enjoyed the video, then feel free to drop a like on it, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.